Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Today, I think we're going to discuss the whistle box and Bellow in the Cuckoo clocks. They seem to be a question, and let's maybe give some answers. Now I have a box of random whistle boxes and whatnot. These I ended up getting, and I didn't necessarily order them, but I got a clock from a guy on eBay, and he just threw in the box of extra parts he had. So to start out with, the whistle box itself normally has a board as long as the whole whistle box, and they usually have another board, we'll say right in here, and that's what changes its tune. Now this one, these are older, so you can see they're just about the same length. Sometimes they just make the whistle box shorter, but if you look in back of the clock, it looks a lot nicer if you've seen two of them the same size. Here, the board for this one is flush with the bottom. This one here, we're in about that much further, and so that's what changes the tune of the whistle box. Now, these are wrapped in paper. They don't need to be wrapped in paper. They look nicer wrapped in paper. And it also, if there were leaks, let's say, does the leaks make any difference? In my videos I always say to hit the same hole when you're putting the screw in, and where the nail goes in, make sure to try to hit the same hole so you don't end up with a bunch of holes in here. On this area here, technically speaking, it doesn't really matter. It does a little bit, but this is up against the side of the box, and so that should seal the holes. This here will kind of show you something. You always want to look at your paper, make sure there's no holes, no leaks. The seam here, that's what you want to watch for, because it is continuously moving there, and it might be something that you might just put a new hinge on here, as in this Bellow material. You can see how this one moves. That's actually not a good thing. So if I was to repair or use this one, this is what I'd want to repair. Get a new hinge on there. This one, I can also give an example. You listen to it. Now, these holes here, so, like I say, if this is up against, in fact, let's use one of these, pretend this is the side of a Cuckoo box. So, it's not super important, but I just soon not have those extra holes in there. And the number one reason why is if I or if someone else comes in here to work on a movement and they have to pull these, they want to know which hole this is in, and that's why I just soon seal up all the holes but the one I'm actually using. And then of course the nail holes aren't as important because they're so small. Now your plastic, I can't tell you what year it was they started using these. I tried finding out and I couldn't find anything. Normally these little deals here will fit down. It won't fit on this one because it's a different type, but it's got wood in the way too. They fit down in, and so it keeps it from moving around, we'll say. That's what those are meant for. But the reed is built in this plastic deal here. You look clear inside there and you'll see what I'm talking about as a reed. On this one, I'm going to go ahead and pull this little board off. This one here is made to fit clear down because they've already figured it out of where it needs to go. On your full wood ones like this, you bring them down, and actually you can play with the bellow, holding that in place and keep moving it up and down. This one here has a wood reed in there. I've found on some of these, especially the wood reed, but when the sound doesn't really come out of these. On another clock I worked on, there was I don't necessarily want to call it mold, but something either got dumped in here at one time or something started growing on that wood because maybe it wasn't totally dry, and it was causing, because it's plugged in the hole, it was causing it to not have a sound. There's just barely a crack. I don't know if you can see it, if I can put the light in here and show you. There is a crack in there that goes across what I call the reed, and that's that thing inside. Like I say, let me show you the reed on this one. Let me go ahead and pull this board off. And these usually come off very easily. In fact, when you're working on a clock, check this out because sometimes they're loose and you have to re-glue them on. Anyway, this is actually the reed right here. Like I say, this one here is plastic. And it's set back just far enough so it'll make a sound when this board is in place. So right now I could blow on it. Absolutely nothing. I'll put this board back on, and I'm just going to have to hold it in place. Now you realize you don't blow hard on here because what puff of air comes from this here isn't very much. You'll find some of them are easier to, let's say, blow in to get them to make that sound. And that's because of two different lengths. The closer or the further this board comes up here, the higher the note. That's why this one's such a deep sound. So that's why I say this is more important, to make sure this board is still in place, it's not loose on one end, and it only takes a spot of glue and then you just hold it into place, then let it dry. It's not glued on real heavy. And that reed that's in there that I just showed you, this reed here can't have anything on it because it has to have all this open in order to get the sound to come through. And when it comes through, it needs to echo in this box through this way. That's why this board is blowing across it. This board is blowing across and coming out, but because of the hollowness of the box that sits on here, that's what's going to cause it to have its actual tone. So the volume of sound, we'll say, comes out from here, and your tone comes from the box, besides some of your volume, like I've shown here. Actually, they're the same volume, it just gives a different tone, because some of the sound is getting sucked into this box here instead of coming out where it's supposed to be. Another thing too about these, did you notice how slow, let's call it, that goes down? Don't forget, you still have the wire on here that comes down to the lift arm, and that wire and that lift arm, they've got extra weight to pull this down a little bit faster. And the other thing to remember, you see how this is nice and closed? If this is setting on it, the clock is setting on its back, here opens up. If it's left like that for quite a while, this will start stiffening up, especially the leather ones. So when you go to set it back and you're going to use the clock again, it might get stuck right there. It can't go down all the way because, technically speaking, it lost its memory. So the way to fix that, clamp this down with something, take a rubber band and wrap around it. Or I got what I call a shipping wire that I've made as a cheap soft wire that you would tie rebar with, I guess. And it's usually quite cheap at almost any hardware store. But I make these myself, and I can put those on there, and now it doesn't move. You can put it as far as you need to, especially if you're going to be using it for a shipping wire. There you go. If you're going to store your clock, it's good to make some of these if you don't have the original one. And so this way, when it lays on its back, that bellows stays shut. And then when you're ready to start using the clock again, or you're going to sell it or whatever, you take these wires off, or the person that buys the clock, let them know about those wires. All you have to do is pull that off, and it's ready to operate again. So I hope this helped you out a little bit on the whistle box in your clock. And if you're going to put paper on, you notice how, let's say, cheap they did on this one. This here fits against the box of the clock, so that's actually no biggie. They got paper where you're going to see it. What? It's short? This here's against the front of the, or looks towards the front of the clock, and nobody sees it, so they got a little bit tight with their paper and only did mainly two sides. That seems to be a problem with all clock companies that try to keep that almighty dollar coming in. And what can they do to improve the speed of getting the clocks built and out for sale compared to actually the quality? There are some clocks out there that have the quality. There's some clocks out there that are old that show the quality they had back in them days, and as time went on, it just got tighter and tighter, I swear. Anyway, I hope this all helped you out on learning a little bit about your whistle box and a little bit about the bellow. And don't forget to subscribe because it's free. Give me a thumbs up if you appreciated this video. And until next time, God bless.